What's up, cigar lovers? My name's Gareth, and let's go smoke a cigar. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This week we're going to be having a look at the surprisingly indomitable Camacho Nicaragua. First, a little bit of background info and we'll get straight into the smoke. So, in 2020, Davidoff announced a new line under their Camacho brand, the Camacho Nicaragua. Davidoff says that this blend is full-bodied and full of flavour, and you can believe it. The line was created to fill a gap near the top of the full-flavoured spectrum in the Camacho lineup. As you would expect, the blend uses some Nicaraguan tobacco, but that's all in the filler. The blend is comprised of an Ecuadorian wrapper, Honduran binder and fillers from Nicaragua, Honduras and the Dominican Republic. It comes in three sizes: the Robusto, which is a 5-inch by 52 gauge, the Toro, which is what I'm smoking here, a 6-inch by 50 ring gauge, and the Churchill, 7-inch by 56 ring gauge. And this Toro will run you around €10.50, which is pretty fair, I feel. Like most Camacho cigars, the Nicaragua is rolled at the Diadema Cigars de Honduras SA in Danley. General smoke time for this is somewhere between 90 and 110 minutes. You could probably get a good 120 minutes out of this stick, if I'm honest. Depending on how fast you smoke, and what you're doing and whatnot. I'll spend 60 to 90 minutes smoking this if I'm in the car. Longer if I'm sat around smoking. It's one of those. So today I am smoking this with an Elijah Craig bourbon. So let's go straight into the appearance and aroma. I'm going to be honest with you. It's not the most attractive looking cigar that I've reviewed on the channel yet. Whilst the wrapper, as you can see here, is a really nice milk chocolatey kind of colour. There's quite a few prominent veins in it. It gives it a kind of texture, which isn't terrible or anything, but it's just not the most attractive looking stick. To be fair, it's a Camacho. It's a big, massive, punchy band on it, as you can see there. It's loud, infamous since 1962, and that is Camacho to a T. This isn't an elegant cigar. This is a casual cigar, but we'll get onto that a bit later. Yeah, on the nose with it, before I lit it up, my usual hay barn. I get that on pretty much everything anyway. And a little bit of cedar, I think some milk chocolate too. Now, before we get into the first third, I want to talk a little bit about the ash on this thing. It's got a really nice, strong ash. And it's well built, so the ash is quite sturdy. And I've been waving this thing around a fair bit, like at the start of the video. I'll probably get another ½ inch or so on that before I really need to ash it, before I risk dropping ash everywhere. And I don't want to do that. So it's really well built. and that's a good sign. It's always a good sign. The smoke as well is a really nice off blue grey. It's not chalky or anything. It's just nice. It's got a nice aesthetic to it. So into the first third. The first few puffs of this bring the that creamy chocolatey kind of flavour from the foot straight through. There's also some interesting notes of a kind of sweet cedar type scent, which is quite pleasant. And as the burn develops, there's a bit of ground pepper spice. And that develops more and more as the smoke goes through. When you start to transition into that second third, there's some thick molasses that joins in the fray there with the sweetness of the cedar, which itself changes to be a little drier. So the cedar starts kind of sweet, and then the molasses takes over, and the cedar itself kind of becomes a bit more dry as that goes on. Now it's time to get into that second third. So, what I've got in my notes here from the previous ones I've smoked. As I'm moving into the second third, the strength is beginning to pick up a bit, as more pepper is swathing my tongue and palate. Oh yeah, it's a puncher. It's a puncher. It's almost a pepper bomb at this point, I find, for me. Yeah. There's a smoky, charred barbecue kind of flavour that's poking in as well, which is new. It's interesting. With the hints of cedar fading like right back into the background. They're still there, but they're just right in the background. Moving about the midway into this third, it's a heavier barbecue smoke and char flavour. Still a hint of smooth, creamy cocoa powder, and now a little bit of salted butter coming through as well. That's interesting. With a hint of oak too, I think. This is surprisingly complex. I really like it, and I hope you guys would enjoy it as well. It's good fun. It's surprisingly nice. Cheers, mate. So, as we come into the final third of this rather punchy cigar, we've not had any real dramatic transitions. They've been nice and smooth all the way through. And it's no different coming into the final third. Say that's okay, because the flavours we've been getting are complex. It's pretty satisfying overall. Bacon spices, salted butter, they're hanging around a little bit. The chocolatey kind of flavour, that's all but gone. It's still lingering there in the background, but it's almost gone. Replaced with a bit of leather, and that pepper is punchy now. It's really quite punchy, and it just grows in strength all the way through, right to the very end of the smoke. I've got to the point I've had to take the band off now, and say that pepper just gets more and more and more. I really enjoy it. I think it's a surprisingly great smoke. So we'll come into my final thoughts and everything. Yeah. I want to talk about my overall impressions of this cigar. This is a very pleasantly surprising cigar to smoke. Despite the various veins and the uneven texture, the flavours that I've gleaned from it have been complex, really enjoyable in the way that the transition and everything kind of complements each other. There's no clash, and the transition between thirds is very smooth. Although the pepper does get more intense as it goes on. Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. The ash is really nice and robust, which I tell you what, with the even burn that has as well, it does wonders for my OCD, because I have a thing about touching up cigars. Like, yeah, so that's fantastic. The draw on this one in particular was a little tighter than I would have liked, so I've had to use my trusty draw tool to sort that out. But that doesn't really detract from the whole thing. I'm just nitpicking at this point. Yeah, it's a great cigar to go back to, and it's well worth the €10.50 in my opinion. I think this would go well with a variety of drinks, from medium roast or milked coffees through to, a tidy bourbon, or a medium smoked whiskey, like a somewhat milder Islay Scotch or an Irish whiskey. They go great with that as well. This would also be fair with a tidy milk stout or a bitter ale, a creamy bitter ale. Would go great with that. Um, for non-alcoholic, aside from coffee, maybe even a cream soda. There's one for you. There's one for you. Um, my final thoughts on it before we go back and do the final third. My final thoughts on it is the final thoughts. This is a deceptively well balanced cigar. It's well built, smokes really great, and it's a really good go-to casual smoke, either in the afternoon or evening, because of the strength on it. It's not really something for a formal event, like I said at the beginning of the video, but it's definitely one to pull out if you're watching a game, like a rugby match or American football match or whatever sport it is you're into. It's a great stick to pull out if you're watching the game with friends. There you have it. The Camacho Nicaragua. A wonderfully surprising cigar. Well, everyone, I hope you've enjoyed going through this cigar with me, and I hope you're enjoying going on this journey as well. Remember, if you like what I'm putting out there, please like and comment on the video. Please consider subscribing to the channel and get notifications when I put all my new content up. I'm trying to get better with the shorts as well, to get more out there. But I mean, I'm mostly smoking to and from work, so I don't know what's interesting about that. We'll see. We'll do what we can. We'll do what we can. Maybe I'll get some shorts going into my tobacconist or whatnot, picking up fresh sticks for the channel or even just for the weekend or whatnot. But please stick with it. It's I'm enjoying making this stuff and sharing this adventure with you all, and putting it out on the internet for your consumption. Please follow along, support the channel. Who knows where this can go? And let's bring cigar culture and the wonderful pastime that is cigar smoking to as wide an audience, within legal parameters, age limits and all that we can. So, from Gareth Pearce Cigars, see you in the next one. Bye-bye.